computer. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Forge Coffee Break. This is the episode number 29. Wow, no, it's 28, sorry. The number 28. Welcome, thank you for joining today. As usual, this is our bi-weekly check-in coffee time for general talks. And this is a very open space for any kind of questions that you may have, any topics that you want to bring up. So let me open to you. I see a lot of new names. And if you have any questions, any topics that you want to bring up, any coffee talk that you have, just open your microphone and you are free to talk. I see today we have 14 guests. A few names that I recognize. Tade, Kian, hi Kian. Who else? I hope you can all hear me okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I cannot hear you. That's the problem then.
Oh, you can't hear me? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, so yeah, that was a silly mistake from my side on Zoom. I think Zoom keeps changing the settings sometimes, but yeah, okay, thank you for confirming, Michael and Kim. Yeah, so today is the episode number 28, sorry, and what do we have from you? Any questions, any topics that you want to bring up?
Yeah, whatever you can share, if you can share anything on the roadmap about Upchain and bringing any of the Upchain API into Forge.
Upchain. I think that's one of the acquisitions that we did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually takes some time for, so usually when there is an acquisition, as usual, there's some time for the company to onboard, then for the product to onboard, and last will be the API to onboard our platform or the Forge platform. I don't have an update or information about that yet. I can definitely get that for next time, Michael. And so basically on what happened in the past is that it takes some time for that company to join, right? And I would say maybe a few months to get them to really join the technology and really onboard the company on the technical side. So that's probably happening now.
Yeah, it's happening for us now. We're going through training as a partner, and so one of those unanswered questions from sort of the other folks I've been talking to. So I'm just curious if there was any more information I could get, but
Yes.
Makes sense what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll definitely explore more and have some updates next time. Cool. Thanks. What else? There's a lot happening from our side. So I always like to share what we're doing. AU is coming. It's very close, actually, if you think about it, right? We are now on almost mid-August, and AU will be the first week of October. So that's the main event. And the week before AU, we have a hackathon. And 2 weeks before that, we have a training. So if you haven't done anything with Forge and want to learn and get ready for AU, the training is the best way to do it. You can get a lot of cool insights and really start your Forge development. So if you go to the blog, there is a link to register for the training. It's happening in mid-September. And if you already have a project and you want to work on that project and showcase that project during AU, then the hackathon is definitely the best place. If you go to the community and events, that should be a link for both, including actually it's Forge at AU. Yeah, right there. So pre-events, the hackathon it will be fun. So the hackathon is happening the week before AU, and at the AU, I believe the second or the third, second day will be the showcase for all the projects. So it's a very interesting way to showcase what you did, and have a bigger audience inside the Autodesk community. There's a lot of users from Autodesk products that they will be watching what you can do with Forge and potentially new business for you. So that will be interesting. And I'm talking too much. Who else is here? Look at the names again. Okay, so let me, I think there is something interesting that happened. I think, Michael, you mentioned that last time, right? About the mismatch properties, sorry, proxy service that you developed, I think you mentioned last time. You now have a blog post.
Yes, I have a blog post. That's right.
Yeah. Now it's we can run this. I remember there was some caveats on this, right? That will be running for a short period of time, but you can also deploy that on your own. And I believe the source code is right here at the very end. That's the Heroku instance. And if you want to run this, just remind us. So this is getting the BIDs from SVF and SVF2, right?
Yeah, that's right. In fact, if you go back to the blog post, it's probably described described in kind of 3 steps. So I guess the first thing is if you're using any of the if you're experiencing any problems with your BIM 360 content, so via the Forge API. So let's say, for example, you have a chair that's a chair model, that's an Inventor chair model, and it's sitting on BIM 360. And let's say you extract out an OBJ version of that chair. There's a good chance that you're experiencing some problems with that OBJ file. Inside the OBJ file, next to each mesh, so on the chair, there's like a left leg and a right leg and a back and then a seat. Each of those elements or entities have an ID. And we call those a DBID. And what's happened is the DBIDs that we generate for that OBJ file are not matching what is in the Forge properties endpoints. So the ModelDerivative Service can give you the properties of, say, the leg, and it can tell you the radius. It can tell you what it's made of. It's made of wood, and so those. So there's a mismatch between the ID that comes from that's inside the OBJ file and what the Forge properties endpoint produces. And so what's going on under the hood is the OBJ file is generated with SVF version 1 IDs, and the Forge properties endpoint thinks that your chair is made up of SVF2. And so it's providing you the wrong IDs. It's providing you SVF2 DBIDs. And so there's this mismatch. And to correct the mismatch, what this blog post does is it downloads the small lookup table, which can map between SVF1 and SVF2. SVF2 is generated from SVF1. And so there's a mapping table. And we save that into BIM 360 and the ModelDerivative Service, and so all this proxy service does, all of this blog post does, is it downloads that little file and then creates a little lookup to remap those IDs so that they match again. And that's all it is. The service it's just running as a proxy service, so it looks just like the Forge properties endpoint, except it gives you DBID1. Version 1, and so everything looks the way it used to be. And it's a service I'm running on my own personal account, and so it's just running in the background. It doesn't use much resources, and so I'll just leave it running there as kind of a test service, so you can just make sure it works for you. And then if you're happy with it, I highly recommend not to rely on my service for too long. I'll keep it running till the end of the year, but it's probably better that you, if you find that the service works for you, the solution works for you, maybe just download this code yourself and then just deploy it yourself. Really straightforward code.
Great.
So it's really
Thanks for the explanation.
Yeah, it's just a temporary workaround while the engineering team decide on the best way to solve this problem. Apparently it's quite complicated for them.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was, I think that topic came a few times during the coffee break, and I'm looking at the names. I think was asking about SVF2 mapping, so that's an important one. Thank you for sharing. That's very good. And you mentioned that last time, and now we have a blog post. That's why I'm pointing that out again. Thank you.
Yeah, does that explain it? I know there were I had a couple of people asking me, sort of very confusing. So I kind of threw these diagrams together to try to explain it.
Cool. Yeah.
I don't know, does it work for you, Augusto?
No, yes, perfect. Yeah, thank you. Very good. Any questions
Cool.
from anyone else? And let me bring up something else then that was happening recently. We started talking about support for webhooks. Actually, there has always been support for webhooks in all regions that we have that data centers. But when it comes to webhooks, some of our samples were not really with all the features to enable and work on different regions. And this week, we started updating some of those samples to make sure that they support regions as they should, right? The main thing is when it comes to webhooks, you have to specify the header saying this account or this data is hosted on US or EMEA. And one of the reasons you have to specify the region, it's not to make it harder to use, but to make sure that you understand where your data is going to. Right? So right now, most of the endpoints will default to US, but it's always important that your application, if this is really important for you, and this is very important for most of customers, to make sure that your application is properly sending the information to the right location. When it comes to webhooks, you have to understand that if the hub from BIM 360 or Construction Cloud, that hub is from one of the regions, and then pass the header with the specific information. So the change on the sample was actually to support that. And I believe the important piece is that you have to get the hub. So say get hub from the data management API. And there is a data attribute region information there saying EMEA or US. And you just use that information later to create hook, to delete hooks. And with that, the Webhook API will work seamless with both regions. It's not a big change. I think the biggest challenge is for your code to know where is the data. And in most cases, you have to go all the way up to the hub to identify the region. So let's say you are already on a folder level, but you have to go up and find the hub, get the information about the hub information, get the region, and then pass that to the hub. So this sample, luckily this sample has a tree. So we have this navigation tree on the left for this specific sample. So we know where is we have the hub information very, very convenient, right? So it's a way to do it. Are some of you working with webhooks? Have you experienced this kind of situation as well? We know that a lot of customers or developers, you know where is the data hosted before you develop the application, because you're doing on specific applications, not generic applications. So you know that your customers will always be on EMEA or US, right? But if you don't know, if you have a generic or no global application, then you have to handle this. Everyone is being very quiet today, and I'm talking too much.
You're doing such a great job, Augusto. That's why.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like a presentation, but it should be maybe it's because I missed my coffee.
Hello,
I have to get have second coffee. Yes, hi. Who's talking?
This is Moses.
Oh, hi, Moses.
This is Moses. I think I looked at your webhooks explanation in terms of listening, but I may be totally wrong on what's that used for. I think it was the app where you were listening for changes in the model, and then it would give a report on a check, a type of an audit of the model. Am I totally in left field there, or is that what Webhooks provide for you as a...
I really like webhooks because or notifications systems, because they're the closest thing to magic we have, right? Something happens here, let's trigger an action to do something else, right? So that's the closest to magic that we have in programming, right? So the sample you're talking about is the check issues sample. And what it does is whenever you upload a new model to BIM 360, let's use Webhook to get a notification. And behind the scenes, run a very basic model check on the file. And if something is wrong or something that we have to fix, let's create a BIM 360 issue for that, right? You can do a lot of things. In this case, we are run a design check on the model to then create an issue. And this sample is a bit complicated because you have to upload the model, you have to see everything happening, and depending on how complex is the model, may take some extra time. But there is a video here showing how it works. So let me move this away and move to this theater mode. And essentially say, let's start monitoring a folder. And this left here is just for us to understand what's going on, right? And essentially the user will go to BIM 360, upload the model. And as soon as the model is uploaded, Webhooks will trigger the application to run this model check. Again, you don't have to leave this left side running, it's just for reference, right? But as soon as the model is fully uploaded, the design check should be also complete. And magically, you'll see a new issue assigned to you saying there is a problem on that model, you have to fix it, right? So it's, yeah, Webhooks is a way for you to get a notification when something happens. In this case, a new file is uploaded, a new version is uploaded. And with the other APIs, you can trigger additional actions. So in this case, we use Webhooks to get notification, then data management to get the file, design automation to run the check, and BIM 360 issues to log the problem. And the last piece is that I have a link on the issue that will open the viewer, and I have a custom viewer on my custom URL that I can see the problems that I have identified. So for the user, it seems like it's everything integrated, right? Although there's a lot of things happening on the background.
Hey,
so
Augusto,
I noticed we have.
sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Moses, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Moses.
Oh, I was just going to say we have clients that are asking us to do use the BIM 360 model coordination module. And that detects clashes, but it does not automatically create issues. But it seems as though this solution that you've shown here goes ahead and creates the BIM 360 issues. Is that correct?
Okay, so let's separate the two things, right? So the first thing about this sample, it's running design automation, and there is a API .NET code that will check for problems, right? And as you have .NET API for Revit, you can do anything that you can do with the Revit API. So in this case, I'm running one of the many samples we have, and this sample is about checking if columns are overlapping with walls. But you can run any code, and that code will identify problems. So that's one thing. Now, the model coordination API, it's a much bigger thing, right? That you can use to run a lot of model clashes that you have the rules, you just specify the rule, you don't have to write any code for that. So model coordination will run the clashes for you. So let me go back here. And we do have a sample on that clash here. We have a few samples that you can use model coordination API, right? The thing is, the model coordination is a user thing that you trigger, right? So you say, let's run this model coordination right now, right? And then you get the report with all the issues. What you can do is have a monitor the clashes. And as soon as you run a clash, you can get a report, run some logic on top of that, and create issues if you want to. So those are a bit different things. I understand that is one of the things that is missing here is can we automate this process of creating issues from the clashes? You can automate the process. I don't believe there is a feature for that yet. Maybe there is, and I'm not aware.
It looks like that first example, forge BIM 360 clash issue. This repository demonstrates the scenario, analyze clash issue, and create.
Oh yes. Yeah, you're right.
So it looks like that's happening there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. So it's very interesting, right? You don't want to rebuild anything that is already there. So the model coordination does a lot of things, and it's better to reuse that. But in some cases, you want to run additional model check, right? Which is not clashes or anything like that. A good example is you want to check all the family names if they match the criteria that you have specified, or layer names or block names, right? Which is very much like a model check, company standards, design standards that you have. So the other sample that I showed before is best because you have flexibility. You can just run a code, check whatever information you want, and create the issues. Model coordination, it's about, in this case, it's about coordinating models and doing clash detection and a few more things. Thanks for the question, by the way. I hope that I answer your question. If you have an add on that.
Yeah.
Hey,
thank you.
Just a quick question on triggering webhooks. Is there an update to getting a webhook when a job has completed on BIM 360? So in say SVF1 or SVF2? No,
not yet. And that's something that we requested for some time. The challenge that is happening is that on the system, who triggers the translation is the BIM 360 system, not you as an application, right? So you can watch the new model added, but BIM 360 will trigger the application. So we don't have that specific event, Michael, and that's something that we requested for some time, but it's not there yet. The best we can do today is to do something like here on this skeleton, right? What it's doing is you get a notification when a new model is added, and then you keep retrying to get the manifest until the translation is ready. But that's not ideal, but that's the closest that can do. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. And this sample is interesting on that point because when you try to get the manifest and the manifest is not there, in this case I'm using Hangfire, which is a queuing system. And one of the benefits of using a queuing system is that this library will retry for you if there is a problem, right? So you don't have to really worry about retrying. You can just say throw an exception, and the system will retry for you. So let me come back here, and so that's when I get the notification about the new model, and let's say, okay, extract metadata, and I will try to extract it. And if the manifest is in progress, well, it's not ready, I'll just say throw an exception. And this execution of my this item on the queue, on the queuing system will fail, and the queuing system will retry that for me. So it's very easy to do that with a queuing. So that's why I used here. You don't want to re-implement a queuing system, right? There is lots and lots of options there. I believe there is also a blog post on that as well. Let me get here author, and that will be mine. So I like to use .NET, so I have lots of samples in .NET. But I remember researching about nodes, and there is one for node BQ, which is very good for node as well, if you're using Node.js. Again, many different options, libraries for queuing. Hangfire is for .NET and BQ for Node. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of others there. Thanks, Michael. All right. Any other questions? Any other topics? Thanks, by the way, Moses. Thank you for watching.
Sure. I mean, thank you. And we're dealing with this now. We have some big clients that want to do issue creation and clash detection. We're just trying to figure out how to put these pieces together because we run at such a rapid pace that being able to automate issues would be an advantage for us.
Yes. Yeah, as I said, no, webhooks and this magic happen on the background. It's the closest to magic that we have, right? Very cool. Vaish, you raise your hand.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Going back to that DBID thing, sorry for bringing it back. I'm not able to get the SVF2 properties from the APIs. Could it be that I haven't updated the model in BIM 360? That's why I'm not getting SVF2. Like if I query the metadata, I still get the same metadata that I used to get 3 months ago. Yeah,
so SVF2 is on effect since June 30th. So end of June, right? So if the model was uploaded before that, it will be SVF. If the model was uploaded after June 30th, then it's SVF2.
Okay.
So okay, that's that was the deadline when SVF2 went to production.
Okay.
And let me get the blog post on that. Let me just a sec. Let me share again. And here it is. Yeah, so SVF GA is production general availability. And it says somewhere in here that is June 30th. It should, but yeah, it's June 30th when the blog was published.
Okay. So to get the SVF2 properties, I should just re-upload the model and that should initiate a SVF2.
So if the model is hosted on BIM 360, yes. So models uploaded after that date will be SVF2. If the model is uploaded to OSS, which is using a two-legged, right? It's your own bucket, not BIM 360 bucket. Then you can say, I want to translate SVF or SVF2 because you have the ability to trigger the process. But for BIM 360, BIM 360 will trigger the process.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Thank you for joining.
Yep.
So I have to say that we are also almost on the top of the hour. And I'll leave you with this, which is our next coffee break. Should be happening on, let me move this away here. Next coffee break in 2 weeks, same time, same link. And I'll just give you a few more minutes, 1 more minute to ask additional questions or additional topics. But see you in 2 weeks, August 25. And oh, Vanish, you have another question? So raising your hand. You're trying to lower your hand.
I have a quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
So I came in a little bit late on the DBID topic, but I was just wondering if you're a regular BIM 360 docs user and you're clicking on elements, would that potentially affect you if the mismatch between DBIDs and properties? It looked as though Michael was saying that it's possible that the properties were not following the correct geometric elements.
No, so everything should work just fine. But we know that some customers use the DBID to map to a database. So the DBID was never intended to be stable between versions or between translations, right? So let's say I have a model and I translate now and I translate the exact same model a few days in the future, right? There was never a guarantee that the DBID will be the same between those translations because the process of creating the DBID is it's just a sequence internally. what happens with SVF2 is that the algorithm to create the file is different from SVF because of all the optimizations we do. And because of that, the DBID may be different from SVF1, right? So the same element will be there, but they will have a different DBID. If you're just clicking and getting properties and you're not hard coding or saving that DBID on your database, that should not change anything on your code or on your application. The only case that could be a problem is that if you use the DBID to map to a database, and the same model can be different.
I see. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So as I said, the DBID was never intended to be stable between translations, but the external ID should be stable, but not the DBID. But in some cases, people use that, and that's why there is this this mismatch that Mike was talking and the sample he was mentioning. Okay, so thank you, Moses. Thank you, everyone, and see you in 2 weeks. I'll be posting the recording as usual, and see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.